Forcibly.
Forcibly.
You had no choice.
Right.
So thanks, guys.
That's good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm a Fore River fangirl already.
There you go.
I know.
Hashtag.
Hashtag.
Fore
Hashtag that up.
Or I'm a fangirl. I'll join you.
All right,
I'll
cool.
be number 2.
I'll be the president of the fan club.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. I'll
Perfect.
be yes. I'll be the note taker.
Perfect. So, anyways, your LinkedIn profile said August 2014, and you told us that was when the paperwork went through.
Yep.
But you didn't just say in sometime in August, be like, hey, let's just open a brewery. Let's put in some paperwork.
No.
No?
No, we had worked probably at that point for maybe about 10 months, or maybe a year, on the sort of idea of starting a brewery and what we wanted to get out of that. So at the time in August, we did the incorporation paperwork because we did a tasting event around that time. And the goal of the tasting event was sort of a gut check for TJ and I on, we had been homebrewers for quite some time. So, we had heard people, your friends and family tell you, well, this beer is really tasty, but you don't know whether or not they're just being kind to you or this beer
They want
is junk.
free beer.
Right.
They just want free
right.
beer.
So,
this is great. Keep making it.
Yeah. So we did a tasting event and invited people that we didn't know and some people from the beer industry. So we had, I think, 9 beers on tap.
Yeah, we had 9 different beers. And they all did very well. And that was when John and I said, all right, we can do this, and here we are.
Nice.
So were you homebrewing together all that time? Did you homebrew separately? How did that... Did you just run into each other at the grocery store and be like, hey, I homebrew, do you too?
They were on MySpace together.
No, I had met John about 9 years ago, probably now, and he had been homebrewing for a little while, and it was something that I thought I'd get interested in, and I just sort of mentioned it to my wife, and she bought me a homebrew kit, and then so then I started homebrewing.
Nicole
and,
is amazing.
Yes, we would like to cheers to her.
So I started homebrewing and asking John, advice, and John got advice from his buddy Spencer, who had been brewing before us. We just brewed, and we'd always talked about opening a brewery, and sort of came together now. So.
And so you just kind of elbowed Spencer out of the way?
John.
We don't talk about that.
We do not discuss Spencer.
Spencer had cystic fibrosis since he was a child. Mm-hmm. And so in 2014, Spencer passed away from cystic fibrosis. And he and his wife were very good friends with Amy and I, and he was an integral portion in or player in me transitioning from a macro beer, pizza, just whatever, right? Never experiencing good beer, through knowing what good beer is and understanding the process of what makes good beer. Then that, he was the one that first gave me my first bottle of homebrew. It was a pale ale that he had made. And it was, probably 10 years ago or somewhere around there. So he really sort of kicked off the process of understanding it. And then it's all right, well, how do you get these flavors out of it? What makes a beer hoppy? And then talking about hops. And then it quickly became with us an issue that irritated our wives that we discussed so much, which then made it a sport. And so the Spencer's passing was also a motivator that, what he had taught TJ and I was should be something more than it is, because it was a great amount of knowledge. He was an engineer, so everything was extremely technical.
Yeah.
He built our pilot system that we brew on now that looks like something out of Willy Wonka, with just valves and pumps and electrodes and things on it. So that was sort of the not to bring things down, but that's
No.
sort of, you know, that is
What an amazing guy.
the reality
Yeah.
of, and we almost see this very much so as an extension of what he was to us, and we know that he would appreciate this. We know that he would be losing his mind in that other room with the brewing equipment.
Yeah.
You know.
So, if I'm correct, without Spencer, you would not have gotten into craft beer, which means you wouldn't have homebrewed.
Right.
And if you hadn't have homebrewed, John hadn't have homebrewed, TJ wouldn't have homebrewed.
Probably not.
So we have a lot to thank Spencer for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So on the grand opening of Fore River, we should definitely raise a glass to him because
Absolutely.
he's
Absolutely.
Yep.
amazing. Like without him,
Right.
I wouldn't have a new favorite place to be. It's really what I think.
It is in every aspect, and not to be sappy about it, but he's a guy that completely caused this, you know, and I'm sure to some extent there are people that know that. I think our wives know that, and maybe immediate family do, but you know, it's something that's very important for us to actually be said. You know, it's good to have fun in here, and we're glad we're creating this happy space. But it's good for us to be rooted in knowing where that knowledge came from.
Absolutely. And don't ever feel bad about getting sappy with us. We love
No.
sap.
Exactly. Yes, I know. Please feel free.
I don't want to put like a cliche on girls, but I mean we're girls. We like sappiness.
I
Right?
like sappy.
I like it. Yeah. See? Yeah.
I will raise.
And as a note to Dustin and all of our listeners, you got a picture of that, right? That Willy Wonka pilot. Yeah, he said yes,
he's
so you
nodding.
best be
There you
checking
go.
that out.
If not, we'll make sure he does.
You learned how to homebrew. You got really excited. You put in some paperwork.
Yep.
Is it like one piece of paper that you send? Like, what does that kind of look like?
It's 2,400 pages long.
Is it a small novel, a large novel, War and Peace? What are we talking about here?
We started with our TTB, which is when we started this process, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and so I don't mean to
Not
have
ours.
this.
We weren't around then.
Yeah,
If we
this.
were, he would have.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah. So, you know, I wanted to sort of build a background as to what the licensing process was like, and everybody sort of said, you know, don't do this. This is insurmountable. You can't do it. It's awful. And I'm
Wait, the
here to say
podcast that
that's-
you were listening to told you not to start a brewery?
Yeah, no, it was the brewers just saying that the licensing process was just overwhelming.
Oh my god.
But you know, so we started with the TTB, and so we knew ahead of time
Can
that
I
it was going
press
to be
pause
awful.
just for 1 second? I don't know what that stands for.
I think it's the Tax and Trade Bureau.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, taxes, of course.
Yeah, taxes and trade.
Yeah.
Always.
Okay, good. Continue, please. Sorry.
Okay. So it took us probably 3 weeks to fill it out online,
Holy moly.
and it is.
They have a save button, though, right?
They have a save button.
That's good.
It's set up well. The site is set up very well, and they do a great job with it. But it is super intensive. They want to know. They want the retina scan.
Fingerprints,
they
blood
want the
type,
fingerprints, they want
firstborn.
your mom's
I know.
fingerprint. They want everything.
Your hair.
Your hair. Hair sample.
Sorry.
And
They took off all. I
yeah.
mean, your hair
That's
looks
mean.
beautiful.
Yep.
I was very intimidated by it.
It's awful. I'm not gonna lie, it's
Yeah.
awful. I mean, you know, people have to sort of keep that in perspective. Like, oh, we're gonna open a brewery. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
You have to plan. We are at this point over 110 days past when we hit the mouse and said submit, and we still haven't received approval. And this is us only last week or the week before getting contact from them about we need clarification on this and this. And we didn't receive a very extensive list, so we did a good job when we submitted it. But you've got so many people opening small breweries around the United States. And coming from government, I can understand they are overwhelmed. So that's the TTB portion. We made an effort very early on, though, on the local level, to be proactive with approaching the municipality in the city of South Portland about what we wanted to do. And there had been one other brewery in town that was a very small production brewery, and I don't think they did any I don't think they did any ahead of like a tasting room or anything. So when we approached them, it was new territory
Right.
about, having this space and the volume that we're talking about over on the other side.
Right.
And I had, through podcasts and Pro Brewer and things like that, been worried that we were going to have problems with the municipality. And the city was more than accepting of the idea of this type of business coming in. We met with one of the deputy city clerks, the state liquor agent for this area, and the health inspector for the city. And they gave us a clear list of what we needed, but they also expressed their enthusiasm for this type of business, finally getting from Portland over to South Portland.
Right.
So for all of our international and national listeners, we are located in Portland, Maine, which is an amazing place for craft beer. There is a huge, huge boom on the other side of the bridge. Then you go over the bridge, and I love this space because it's not quite in the city. But there's not a lot of craft beer places here. Even to just buy 6-pack, they're a little bit hard to find. Or 4-pack, because everything comes in 4-packs now.
Exactly.
So that's kind of where we're located. So I can see why they might like the shift. But my question is, why did you choose South Portland? I mean, I love it. I'm happy you're here. But
I know. Close door.
I'm from South Portland, and I mean, there's this area. We just figured this area needed something because there just wasn't anything around like a tasting room or anywhere in this area, and and Alex, his shop's across the street, so that helped out. And he owns this property, but I mean, we just wanted to create a place that people here can go and gather and.
South Portlanders are I live in Portland, and I mean, I didn't grow up in Portland, but South Portlanders are I don't want to say unique breed, but they're very community-centric people. And
I just want to remind you I'm from South Portland, so watch where you go.
Right, but I mean, they're proud of their community, and they want a distinction to the city of South Portland. And they do a fantastic job in that through the businesses and the enthusiasm with the schools and sports around here. And so we knew that, if we were one of the first places to bring in a production brewery of this size with a tasting room and bring some unique design elements that separate us from Portland, that the people in South Portland would embrace that. And
Absolutely.
It's been that way since we were digging in the sand, ripping the floor up, and we had neighbors running full speed ahead through the doorway yelling, "Is their beer ready?" And we were worried about that in the neighborhood, but they know Alex, and they know what a hard-working, good businessman that he is, and they're getting to meet us. They may know TJ from being in the area, but they're getting to meet us and know that we're not just in here ripping the place up, and we're going to have
You're not going to have a saloon going
we're
on.
going to be a roadhouse in here.
It's going to be more barn with beer rather than roadhouse.
Right, yeah, exactly.
With a marshal in-house.
Now, your own in-house marshal. Right. So what I took away from some of that was that I might have to start making campaign posters because there might be people up for the whole fan club president.
Oh, that's fine.
Will you help me?
Yes.
Okay,
Of
thank
course
you.
I will.
There are some people
It's-
on this street that would run.
That's fine. They won't win. I mean, that's fine. But
I've got a
however,
whole international audience.
See, you'll
Yeah,
win. You'll
totally
win.
win.
I'm
I
not
got this.
worried.
Okay,
Exactly.
good.
That's fine. They can run. We
They can
can
run.
let them have their.
And then we'll give them
say.
spots in the cabinet,
There we go.
right?
The cabinet.
Yeah.
Made of wood.
That Alex made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Beautiful.
So you had mentioned briefly hops and the problem with hops. Can we get into that a little bit and what that means for a new brewery?
Yeah, well, usually breweries will contract hops for a harvest year. So, say 2016 harvest, they'll harvest the hops, and then you get them 2017 brew year.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you're starting out and you don't have any hops contracted, you sort of have to buy what's available for the